innocent until proven guilty. I've heard Asamoah Gyan has interest somewhere. I've heard, and some of these football players, as we know, are also quite endowed by the leagues they've played for. So I'll beg Ghanaians, one, some of these politicians, and I can even cite my own current agric minister. If you look at his estate in terms of the hotel he manages, which he started before NPP came to power, even to date, some people mistaken his business for political. But Honorable Bayani Champon has been in business before NPP came to power, and his net worth, I'm sure, is quite heavy. And not that I'm bragging or boasting on his behalf, but I know that one weekend in Rock City is quite expensive. And I'm sure by Monday, when the weekend is over, whatever loot or monies they take to bank is quite heavy.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them you po.
Wedding, it's more like an exposure, whether we like it or not. And I say that with the greatest of respect for my former minister, who came to Parliament when I was very young, at the time of President Kufuor's regime. And personally, as a member of Parliament, in the majority and for the NPP fraternity, I'm deeply worried because of the perception out there, and two, because on many levels it's very difficult to justify. And I speak this out of respect for the laws in this country that pertains to how much money you can save in your house, let alone foreign currency that you should manage as an individual. And those are where I'm coming from in terms of money laundering, legal actions that we have put together. And I can go on and on with regards to the gravity of what has happened. Now, I won't say that I know the sources of all her income. I won't say that. And I won't also say that I know the entire amount that was or is at her home. But be it as it may, I think that it's a huge amount of money. And I would only use this opportunity to make a plea because of some of the discussions I've had. Ghanaians need to know, and this one, it cuts across all parties. Ghanaians need to be aware that it is not right to keep such amount of money with you. But I'm pleading that key thing, innocent until proven guilty, should be a mantra regardless of the amount of money, regardless of the crime that people might think may have happened. In the sense that I would use the likes of Margaret Thatcher, who we all know was very powerful in the British system of governance. Her husband was one of the billionaires of their time. He had a lot of money. Nobody ever talks about the husband of Margaret Thatcher. Nobody even knows that Margaret Thatcher's husband was one of the pillars of her political success. He actually got her into politics. If I should come to our very own Ghana, I've always admired Betty Mold-Idrisu. Powerful politician, powerful former Attorney General. a woman of substance and merit. I can posit to say that her rise to fame and glory is not necessarily only because of her wits, but at least she had the blessings of a husband who is at least somebody of high repute and contributes largely to the coffers of the NDC operations. So if we even fast forward now to the Prime Minister of the UK, his wife, though he is heavily loaded, his wife is also super loaded. And these are some of the things that people never pay attention to. And unfortunately, once you're in politics, every monies you are seen with is colored as political money. So I'll plead with Ghanaians. Uncle Ben, I call him because of the knowledge of legal documents in his mind, knows that before any of us enter parliament, we would have spent more than monies for a V8. Your local NDC primaries, your general elections, you spend more than a V8. But here's the case that when people see you, they're like, oh, you know, V8, V8, V8. But that is we spend far more than that to get into parliament. And if you should see despite in parliament maybe 10 years from now, and he has his money in his house, are we going to make noise? Kennedy Ejapon has so much. He says it everywhere. I'm sure if we found this in his house, a lot of Ghanaians would be mute. There are many politicians who have earned sizable money in their private businesses and never say much in public. So I'm only bringing that up for people to look at it through all those lenses. In that one key thing of innocent until proven guilty. I've heard someone, Jan has interest somewhere. I've heard, and some of these football players, as we know, are also quite endowed by the leagues they've played for. So I'll beg Ghanaians, one, some of these politicians, and I can even cite my own current agric minister. If you look at his estate, in terms of the hotel he manages, which he started before NPP came to power, even to date, some people mistaken his business for political. But Honorable Bayani Champon has been in business before NPP came to power, and his net worth, I'm sure, is quite heavy. And not that I'm bragging or boasting on his behalf, but I know that one weekend in Rock City is quite expensive. And I'm sure by Monday, when the weekend is over, whatever loot or monies they take to bank is quite heavy. So I'm begging the Ghanaians, look at all politicians. Current chairman for the NDC, who I admire, has businesses besides politics. I know of at least construction companies and heavy equipments that he rents or uses for road construction and things like that. So not all politicians do strictly and only politics. And I only want us to be open to that. I mean, former President Donald Trump had a lot of money. Everybody knew he was, money man, and never joked about it. So I'll beg Ghanaians. We always, and it is, people know this, they should double check. Anytime they see a politician, they only think of, politics. There are instances of people who were, quote unquote, riffraffs and make it heavy in politics. But those are not to be generalized across. Some of us are professionals before we enter politics. And I've been traveling before politics, but now when I travel, quote unquote, hey, Ay3ka no di tukwai. I beg. When I hear these things, sometimes personally I'm pained by it because maybe try my ticket. I've bought my ticket and I'm going on something that I would have done, on my own. And yet, it has colored everything you do now, unfortunately. Fast forwarding to the issue, I think that one, it's very wrong to steal from your employer. Two wrongs doesn't make it right. No employee should be stealing from their employer. Cleaners take soap home from companies they work for. They take all kinds of detergent-related things. I think, for me, I don't know, maybe nurses working for hospitals also take what, drugs? I don't know. But it doesn't make it right if the quantity is big or small. Employees should not steal from their employer. It is a very wrong thing. We cannot justify it. It is seriously wrong. Now, I think law is a movement of logical reasoning and thinking. That is what law is. I'm trying to figure out if the monies wasn't her own, would she have she's a female, but would she have the balls to go and make a claim that I have this money, it has been taken from me? I haven't seen somebody buy with fake currency and go to report. It won't make sense unless the person has actually smoked some of the weed, he or herself. Because if I go and buy weed with fake currency, will I go to police station and make a case? So I really will also plead with that same thing, innocent until proven guilty. In her senses, given the fact that she's a very well, thorough person, she will go to police and make this statement. If, quote unquote, the monies were not her money, it won't make sense. Because this same question of the source of your funds would have come up. And they thought about it. And I'm not here to tell Ghanaians what businesses her husband does. And the fact that the husband is very loaded, at least. We know what some architects have taken in the public domain. I can cite, some of the architectural drawings that have made headways, which we all know. Architects are rich people. And if not at all, he's done 3 or 4 properties. If you've done Silver Towers and a few others, my goodness. Rental monies from just Silver Towers, which we all know. You have Mercedes there, banks are there. Rental monies a month from some of these places. And when you try renting some of these offices, they charge you in dollars. So let's be open-minded and let's look at it from all those angles. But, like I said from the beginning, it is wrong from a financial, legal standpoint to have that quantity. And I am deeply worried because what if fire caught this house? Then you would have lost property and state property because none of the hard currency we hold, let alone foreign currency, any individual holds is their property. The money is yours, but the cash is state-owned. Every dollar you hold is American government money. It is not yours. And I know that in America, if you should put fire to even just their flag, it's trouble. Let alone put fire to the dollar bill. You'll be cited. And the key thing here is that from a legal insurance standpoint, why on earth? How many fire extinguishers are in that house? I'm wondering, because my goodness, at any point in time, we know of fires in this country, and no building is exempt from the possibility of fire. GRA has had fire. Even fire service themselves, some of their offices have had fire. So I think my mother and former minister made a grave mistake, especially with regards to that. And of course, we are even lucky that these employees did not rather go meet some armed robbers who would have. Then the news in the morning would have been former or a minister of state shot and killed, husband also, and monies taken away. We wouldn't have at that point known how much monies. And I must say that some employees do that. They actually recruit armed robbers to come after you. So I won't praise the employees for not engaging armed robbers to go to that house. But I must say that these are the issues that make me worry. And I'll use this opportunity to also advise many Ghanaians, because it's not just politicians holding this kind of money. I know of businessmen who do exports and imports in this country and are sitting on heavy money. In local parlance, yes, you'll be at the pensio is to. Please, for those of us who are hoarding or holding, whether ill-gained, profitably gained, whatever, this should be an educative process that you think carefully and make sure that you bank your money so that you are safe, so that your life is not at risk and your house and home is not at risk. So in concluding, this will change the way we do business in Ghana. And one last bit, our culture of everything now running to special prosecutor is wrong. It will not serve the country well. One, they dropped the ball when this became a case in 2022. I think that every government official at that level, if you have any legal issue, it should be made known to the state as quickly as possible. It shouldn't be the media highlighting and then legal department following up. If as a corporate head, from my experience before, if you have even drunk driving, your legal team has to know. If you have theft in your house, your legal team has to know before you even engage police or whatever. So I think that this is something that we should require of our ministers of state, because it serves as a conduit for what we call blackmailing and things like that. So because of that, high big-time state officials, when they have any legal, whether they bought land and the land has been litigated on, whatever legal issue you have, the state ought to know before it becomes. I would have wished that the special prosecutor would then come and say, oh, we are aware of this matter as of 2022, and these are the steps we have taken. Then that is a proactive system, and that ought to be looked at. And we also need to strengthen our departments in this country. What the CIDs should be doing, I shouldn't see special prosecutor doing. And we need to be very careful. And also, let me add that now she's no more a state official. And if we have to de-escalate, forgive me, and use the existing systems to do the work, that is what I'm calling for. But this whole thing of if the president sneezes, then a special prosecutor, if you know it's wrong. That should not be the culture. And as a legal man, I really think that we ought to be very minded about the fact that the special prosecutor's office is not to be now managing everything that is not necessarily,
But the
you know.
prosecutor does have a mandate.
Yes.
And
He has a
where
mandate.
Something happens that concerns their mandate. Should they not be immediately
Oh,
involved
no.
and take action?
I agree perfectly well, but I'm only saying that, you know, before the special prosecutor, I mean, of course, we have an attorney general as well. You know, we have state institutions that ought to run. My key point here is that if we now drive all traffic for every sneeze in government to special prosecutor, then what we're saying is that literally police service doesn't matter, the legal services in this country doesn't matter. And you have to know that there's a fine line between allowing, you know, for because it is becoming quite more obvious. I mean, before the special prosecutor, did we not have cases that our systems were handling? I'm only saying. But I've also said that when you have issue, the state has to be aware. So I'm just making that, you know, it shouldn't happen that, you know, everything doesn't go to special prosecutor.
Okay.
So that is my
you.
my point here, and hear me carefully. I'm not saying this case is not for special prosecutor, but I'm only saying that we are driving a culture that we also need to be minded and mindful of. There are certain things that don't merit going to special prosecutor.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
I believe strongly
Just 2 minutes.
the debate on the second reading of the bill that led to the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor or the OSP Act can bear us out. You know, Article 88.3 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana gives exclusive power to the Attorney General to be in charge of both criminal and civil cases on behalf of the states. But following the statement made by the President that I shall protect the public purse, I shall check corruption, he came to Parliament that he needed to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor in order to deal decisively with that. So, part of the constitutional mandate of the Attorney General should be ceded to the Special Prosecutor, so that the Special Prosecutor will only be responsible for corruption and corruption-related offenses. So that is the mandate of the Special Prosecutor. So with that particular law, anything that borders on corruption and corruption-related issues, quickly you expect the Office of the Special Prosecutor to set in. So that is the dimension from which the Special Prosecutor is setting in.
Okay.
This is the issue. Huge sums of money has been established, found in somebody's house. Looking at the person's earning, taking the person's background into consideration, there is the need for such a person to explain that particular wealth, if it is not as a result of corruption or corruption-related issues. That is why the Special Prosecutor is coming into this in exercise of its
Agreed.
under the law.
Agreed.
So what the Special Prosecutor has done in the circumstances is perfect.
Before I go to Ni, thank you, Honorable. Thank you very much. Let me do a few messages. This is Mystic Wonder, who says, good morning. Ghana is in this precious economic situation because of the condescending behavior, mismanagement, and unprecedented corruption by President Nana-Addo Dr. Bawumia-led government. President Nana-Addo Dr. Bawumia-led government is suffering from credibility crisis and has failed Ghanaians disastrously, and their names will go down in history as catastrophic failures ever. Julie Belinda Aubry says she employed the maid underage too. The police should look at that too. Okay, Samalata wants to know, how much was there before $1 million was stolen? Abdul Rahman Mohammed says the OSP will cover it for her. and Anado administration, because this is a big mess for the administration. Tete from Sunyani says, Honorable, okay, he is talking about something else. Amanya Glopo is joining us. You see, the NPP government intentionally sent Cecelia Dapaah money stolen to the court so that no one will talk about it, okay? Babs Nuhu is joining us. How can a country survive with this kind of people as leaders? Only one person with all this kind of cash. Only God knows what others are keeping. Babs Ahmed, each one of them did not still pay taxes. There's Annie Donani says, Honorable, please stop defending the indefensible. Kujo Aza, Kujo Aza wanted to find out what does Margaret Thatcher got to do with well, this is Sabalama says, I'm suspecting that monies are being found in the homes of some NPP members. Maybe they were advised prior to the infamous haircut to do so in order to prevent them from being victims. That's a Sanko in Santa Maria who joins us. This one from Mandy Williams says, Senator, please, NPP guys should not take we Ghanaians as still fools. We are advised to take our money to the bank, and they are keeping money in their house, trying to explain what? Which business are they doing before and now? We are watching, and I realized you was listening carefully to what Doc was saying. That is your job.